Welcome to episode 14 of the Culture and Arts Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, we are in pirate radio mode because we have been moving from location to location the last few weeks, and now we have settled here at Casa Ruiz. Good morning, Jason.
Good morning.
How's the week?
It's been great.
Good week?
Yeah.
Anything special to note?
Not that I can think of.
Well, it's the special part of the week is here and now. We get to talk about some of the most absurd things that have happened in the world.
I think we've got a strong show lined up.
Probably the truth. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we're just going to go ahead and get down to it. David Merle, you will notice, still absent. Talked to him yesterday. He is not ready to concede that Prince is greater than Michael Jackson, and so he is not here with us again today.
The sad thing about that whole debate is the true icon of music in the 80s is Madonna. So you guys are really just arguing over second place.
Oh, my goodness. David, if you're listening, we might need to, we might have a mutual enemy here. And so, first on the agenda this week, we came across an article that was, slightly absurd because that's what we like to do here. And this article came from myfoxla.com, and the title is that a woman divorced her husband over the movie Frozen.
I still haven't seen the movie, but we've talked about Frozen before.
We have.
People have really strong reactions to this movie, apparently.
It seems to be kind of polarizing. I mean, the last time we talked about it, who was it? There was a radio DJ that said, Frozen will turn your children gay.
Yes.
And now, this woman... the article says, some people just take their love of Disney movies too serious. But what about on the brinks of divorce? According to online reports, the Disney movie Frozen has led one woman in Japan to file for divorce. The woman has apparently become so obsessed with the movie that she made her husband of 6 years watch it in hopes that he would like it too. But when he told her that he didn't care for it, he kind of gave her meh, it was okay. She said, if you can't understand what makes this movie great, there's something wrong with you as a human being. And the man claims that there was no pre-existing issues in the marriage before the epic Frozen fight. His wife has since moved in with her parents and refuses to speak to him. Really?
I mean, I could see it if it was Star Wars.
Well, yeah, I mean, I could see that, you break up with a girl because she's not into Star Wars. But they were married. They're actually married.
Right.
Once you say I do... And once you've had the ceremony, you kind of, there's some things that you might not like about the other person, like them not liking Frozen, but I don't know if that's reason for divorce.
I think it's important before you get married and walk down the aisle, you got to share your DVD library.
It's true, but what happens when you are already married and a movie comes out? You had no way of predicting Frozen prior to your nuptials.
I still haven't seen the movie, but like I said, it's just such a strong reaction.
Of the Disney library, I preferred Tangled, the Rapunzel movie, to Frozen. And I had a friend who agreed with me on that the other day, but for some reason, people love them some Frozen. And, obviously to the brink of divorce.
Yeah, I think the best advice I could give this lady is let it go.
Oh, touche. And so Jason, because he thought this was such a ridiculous article, he went ahead and he compiled a list. He did some research online, and he was able to locate, 10 stories?
Yeah, these are 10... Some of these are strange reasons to get divorced. Some are strange divorce settlements. Just strange divorce topics, but...
Okay.
The Frozen lady deserves to be on here, but...
Oh, yeah.
There's no real order to these, but we're going to start with... There was a Russian couple. The husband lost his wife in a poker game.
So he put his wife as a bet?
Yes.
Okay.
And he lost. You would think you wouldn't have to honor that, at least if you're the wife.
Sure.
But she got divorced and started a relationship with the guy that won.
With the guy that won?
Yeah.
Wow. She is a prize.
Yeah. I just wonder how much the other guy was betting. I had a pair of threes, how strong was his hand? And then was an Italian couple. And I got to be honest, you got to take the wife's side on this one. They got married, went on their honeymoon, and it was a 3-week honeymoon. As soon as they got back, she filed for divorce because the husband brought his mother along on the honeymoon.
Why would you bring your mother along on the honeymoon? That doesn't make any sense. And speaking of honeymoons, did you see the honeymoon last night?
No, I completely forgot about it.
Apparently, that's where the term honeymoon comes from. Mm-hmm. I didn't know that until yesterday. Wow. So he brought his mother along on their honeymoon.
I mean, could there be a bigger deal breaker? There was a couple in China who got a divorce because the husband got sick of his wife making cake.
She just made too much cake?
She made a cake after every meal, and it drove him crazy.
After every meal?
Yes.
Breakfast included?
It didn't mention breakfast, it just said every meal. So.
Was she by chance a baker?
I would
by
hope
profession?
So. I would hope so.
You know, so was she selling these cakes and making money for them? Was it a source of income?
The way it explained it was just she was just trying to make him a cake, just give him dessert.
I can see how that would get irritating over time.
Yeah. Here's a lady and this couple. They won't be single for very long. They probably weren't a good match for each other.
Okay.
A woman in 2009 divorced her husband because he cleaned too much.
That's actually interesting that you say that, because lately in the Ruiz household, there have been some... I tend to clean a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And especially since we moved into our new place. The old place, I mean, the house was really old, and so, I don't know, it just had this something about it where no matter how much you cleaned, the place still felt messy.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, and I'm not really sure if the lighting was just dimmer, but in this house, you know, it's much brighter, it's much more tranquil, and so I've been cleaning a lot, kind of back to my old self. Yesterday, I came home during lunch, and apparently my daughter had just spilled something on the carpet, so my wife was upset and taking care of the spot. But I walked into the kitchen. My wife had made cupcakes for my dad for Father's Day,
mm-hmm.
and all of the cupcake making materials were still in the sink. You know, a bowl full of frosting and all that jazz. So I started doing dishes, and she became upset with me for doing the dishes. And she's like, because she felt like it was an insult, like I was saying, oh, she hasn't cleaned up
mm-hmm.
after herself yet, or something like that. But in fact, I just saw that something needed to be done,
mm-hmm.
and I began to do it. And so it did. There was an argument that ensued from that for, you know, maybe an hour or so until we both chilled out, and you know, she was more stressed out about the potential stain on the carpet. I was just trying to help.
Mm-hmm.
And but yeah, I felt like we had dinner with some friends last night, and I said she was mad at me for cleaning. I'm like, what? And they were both like, you were mad at him for cleaning? Like, who gets mad at their husband for cleaning?
That's my thought.
This is what every wife wants, right? A husband that cleans.
Now,
so I feel that guy's pain.
Yeah. Now, it did go on to say that this husband was so obsessed with cleaning that there was an incident where a wall got dirty, so he smashed the wall down and rebuilt it.
No, that's a little excessive.
Yeah, that does seem a bit excessive.
That is, especially when you knock down a wall, that's got to make quite the mess.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So a little bit of OCD, perhaps, on his part.
Perhaps. This is one that it reminded me of an episode from Seinfeld.
Okay.
A couple in Kuwait got divorced because the wife couldn't stand how her husband ate his peas.
Yeah, that's very Seinfeld.
Yeah, because there was an episode of Seinfeld where he broke up with a girl because she ate her peas one at a time.
Yeah.
But it said the husband, instead of using a fork, he would scoop them up with a piece of bread, and she was so disgusted by it that she filed for divorce. I think it was less than a week into their marriage.
I wonder how long these people date.
It makes you wonder.
You know, like, because my wife and I had, and granted, we lived together before we got married, but I think that was actually a good thing because it allowed us to get a feel for each other's bad habits,
mm-hmm.
and then decide from there if it was worth going the long haul, I guess.
Right. Another one was actually Marvin Gaye.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, he got divorced, and he wasn't very good with his money, and so in an effort to find a way to pay his ex-wife alimony, he agreed to record an album for her and give her all of the royalties from it. So his album called Here, My Dear is basically all the money goes to her.
That's him handing over the cash.
Yeah, so if you support Marvin Gaye, illegally download that album.
Well, you know, Marvin Gaye had some issues with cocaine and some other things towards the end of his life.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And I could see why you would have money troubles if you were an addict.
Yes. And then there was a Muslim couple. They accidentally got divorced in their sleep.
Tell me how that makes sense.
Okay. The husband was talking in his sleep, and he said the word talaq 3 times, which according to Islamic law is the equivalent of getting a divorce. And so the wife heard him say this, and so they went and consulted their religious leaders, and they followed through with the divorce.
That sounds bogus. I mean, because the man wasn't actually consenting. He was sleep-talking.
Right.
So who knows what he was dreaming about. And to me, that sounds like the wife wanted a divorce, but maybe in that culture, for her to actually pursue one on her own accord would mean trouble for her. So my guess is that she used or made up this story in order to get her way without taking any of the brunt for it.
Because it would have been really simple to just ignore that, you know. And then there was a couple in China. They got divorced after the family pet revealed that the husband was cheating.
Okay.
They had a mynah bird that mimicked human speech.
Oh.
And it started saying things like, I love you, be patient, divorce. And so the wife got suspicious. Now the problem is, you know, a bird can't testify in court. But
right. So did she do any follow-up? I mean, was she checking the guy's texts or phone messages or anything?
It didn't specifically say that, but
okay.
This is actually, I actually found that one on several different articles.
You would think that if, you know, you heard the bird saying stuff and you became suspicious, then you'd investigate a little bit before you just filed for divorce.
Yeah, I don't think you just take the bird's word for it.
No, not at all.
Although the bird is the word, I've heard.
The bird could have, the bird could have heard that on television.
Right. This one I thought was really strange, but apparently it's more common than what I thought. But Dr. Richard Batista had donated his kidney to save his wife, and after she got healthy, she started cheating on him, so they filed for divorce, and he requested the kidney back.
Really?
Yes.
And how did that go?
Well, in the eyes of the law, kidney donations are considered gifts.
Okay.
So don't have to be returned.
No regifting?
And no divorce judge is going to ever require someone to go through an operation that would risk their life like that.
Right.
But,
wow.
But there's actually more instances of that than you think, of people wanting organs back after the spouse cheated.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, I've heard of ex-wives being pain in the ass, but never in the kidney there.
The last one, this I thought was really, really bizarre. Joseph Finnegan, his wife of 26 years filed for divorce, and his defense was they could not get divorced because the marriage had already been dissolved, because a few years earlier he had had a heart attack and his heart stopped, and he said at that moment he died. And marriage vows are till death do you part. And that was his defense. He was dead.
They don't cover resurrection.
Apparently not.
Interesting.
You know, which he's probably lucky that the judge didn't accept that, because if the judge had decided he's dead, you know, then the will would probably kick in and everything would go to the wife as opposed to just half.
Yeah. Wow. Well, that's an interesting story.
Yeah.
All of those are really interesting. Like, they're, you know, coming into this, I thought that this was going to be the kind of list that I could listen to and just make some pretty, you know, awful jokes about at every turn. But they ended up being more kind of fascinating. Like, how could people get themselves involved in this? Or why would people get married and then 3 weeks later file divorce for something completely insane?
Right.
Oh, it's insane.
And if you want an honorable mention, David Hasselhoff, when he got divorced, he actually won the rights to the nickname the Hoff.
Yeah.
And the catchphrase, don't hassle the Hoff. Because apparently his ex-wife had a hand in creating those. And so he actually got those rights in the divorce.
Well, good for Hoff. Good for the Hoff. I'm not a Hasselhoff fan, but good for the Hoff. And that just goes to show you, and we say this every single week on the Culture and Arts podcast, it's a weird world.
It's a strange, bizarre world.
I mean, that's become the ongoing theme. As our podcast has evolved, as it has changed, you know, as people have kind of come and gone or whatever, like, no matter who's in the rotation, the stories that we cover always kind of point to the fact that it is a weird place to live. And this next article that we found from ABC7 Chicago is no different. Apparently in Prescott Valley, Arizona, an Arizona man was arrested for unlawfully discharging a firearm.
I don't even know what to say to that.
No. I mean, it's just a new day. You know, in our grandparents' time, George Bailey wanted to throw a lasso around it and pull it down, but
that was more of a romantic gesture, though.
Yes. Well, if this guy was the kind of man that would have a shotgun wedding, then I suppose that, it could have been considered the same for him too, but that was not the case. It says that Prescott Valley police responded to the home after a woman reported that her boyfriend had fired several shots from a handgun and was still armed last Friday night. The woman and her teenage son told police that 39-year-old Cameron Reed was talking about seeing Halley's Comet and fired a round out of the window. They heard several more shots before fleeing. Police say Reed has been booked into the Yavapai County Jail on suspicion of felony counts of unlawful discharge of a firearm, resisting arrest, disorderly conduct, and endangerment plus misdemeanor criminal damage. He doesn't have an attorney yet, but it doesn't say what his motivation for shooting at the moon was.
Aren't we still another 40 or 50 years away from Halley's Comet, though?
Yes. I think we are, because it's every 76, every 75, 76 years?
Something like that, yeah.
And it was what, in the 80s?
Yeah, I think around 86.
Okay. So, yeah, it's not coming around for a while. I don't think this guy saw Halley's Comet. I don't know what he thought he was shooting at. Maybe he was... Is Halley's Comet, there was a cult, right? Like a doomsday cult?
Yes.
And they thought that there was an alien spaceship or something on behind Halley's Comet?
Kind of following it or behind something like that.
Yeah, and they all committed suicide in Nikes or something crazy. So maybe, I don't know, maybe he was one of those guys. Maybe he's just afraid of the return.
I don't know, the moon's just up there all night glowing at you,
Yeah.
It had it coming.
It's kind of... Yeah. Wouldn't stop glowing, minding its own business. But apparently he felt mocked. I don't know. Or the more grotesque suspicion would be that it was mooning him. I don't know. So do you have any other thoughts? Why would he decide to shoot at the moon?
Alcohol, meth, I don't know.
Meth, that might be a good guess, yeah.
There is a yo-yo...
LSD.
There is a yo-yo trick called shoot the moon, so maybe he just got confused.
Oh, really? He saw the name and he wanted to give it a try.
Right.
Maybe he was testing to see the trajectory of his ammunition or his gun. Could I shoot that high? Would gravity stop it, or would it actually go through the atmosphere and hit the moon? I don't think. Yeah, I don't think he thought that went through.
I wouldn't think so.
But yeah, there are some interesting people out there, and I've never really come across. We talk about these people, and I don't know that I've ever come across somebody who I would put in an article like the articles that we discuss.
Right.
Somebody that weird.
Right.
I mean, I've come across a few weirdos. Like there was this guy one time in Meyer in high school, and I was at the self-checkout, and he was standing behind us, and the girl that I was dating at the time, cute girl, he walks up to me and he goes, "Oh man, yeah, you got it. You got yourself a pretty girlfriend there, don't you?" Sound like Ray Charles a little bit, or Jamie Foxx's rendition of Ray Charles. And I was like, yeah, I guess I do. And he's like, "Oh man, no, you can't just say, yeah, I guess I do." He's like, "You have to be very confident in a woman like this, and so when a man tells you, you just need to be very confident, because she's going to read your confidence, and let me give you a little bit of love advice, man. You got to woo a woman. You got to woo a girl." And so he proceeded for about 10 minutes to give me different tidbits of advice on my romantic life that shocked the hell out of me. Because some of these things should just not be said to a woman, as far as I'm concerned, because I'm chivalrous and I'm romantic and whatever. And he says, "Man, you gotta tell a woman, you gotta pursue a woman, you gotta be like, man, girl, you so fine, I would drink your bath water." And I was like, no, that actually sounds really disgusting. Like, I don't think that any woman in her right mind would be like, "Oh, that's so sweet," or "Ooh, that's sexy," or anything else. I'm pretty sure they would just give me the hard pass.
Yeah, she probably wouldn't be your girl after that.
Not after that. And so to that man, I might put him in one of these articles next to the man who collects speed VHSs or something like that. But I don't know. There's some odd guys. There's some and girls, actually. As we speak about the Frozen divorce and everything, there's some odd women too. And with that, we go to an article in the New York Post.
Yeah, this is 10 actors whose career is in trouble.
Mm-hmm.
And these are all big names. Some of them I agree with, and some I wouldn't.
Okay.
But starting out with Tom Cruise.
Yeah.
Who?
He just had a movie come out.
Yeah, he just had a movie come out. Was it Edge of Tomorrow?
Yeah, it was called Edge of Tomorrow.
Yeah, and it's probably the first movie he's done in a while that critics actually liked and people enjoyed, and it really bombed. It actually did less money than his...
Did it really?
Yeah, it did not do well.
With everybody saying that it was going to be so good, I thought that it was going to kind of be a comeback for him.
Right, but what was his last movie? Oblivion or...
Yeah.
Yeah, that actually did...
Well, there was a, like, Jack Ryan or something. Which one?
The Oblivion.
That was last?
Well, that's the specific movie I'm thinking of.
Okay.
That actually did better than Edge of Tomorrow.
Wow.
In the box office.
So, I think Tom Cruise has something to worry about. Now, there seemed to be a time where Tom Cruise was... You know, it's weird because he was a lead actor for so long, and he was kind of Hollywood's leading man. And then he went into a role, at least I thought, where he was almost like a supporting actor. So the movies that he was in, say, what was the one with Jamie Foxx?
Was that called Collateral?
Yes.
Or am I thinking of a different one?
No, I think that might have been it.
Okay.
And so, you know, Tom Cruise did a great job in that movie, so did Jamie Foxx. But Jamie Foxx was really the main character. And so Tom Cruise was just this really good supporting actor. In The Last Samurai, even though it was Tom Cruise's movie, and that was a fantastic movie, he did a great job throughout the entire thing, and he was obviously the leading man. But the Japanese guy who played, I guess, his counterpart in that movie, the actual Last Samurai,
right,
he stole the show.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, even though he had fewer lines probably than Tom Cruise, I still felt like that guy made the movie.
Well, I remember, I think when Tom Cruise did Magnolia, I think he got nominated for Best Supporting Actor, and I thought that might kind of be a transition for him from like action star to actor, but apparently that's not been the case.
Well, it's weird because, you know, he seemed to like try to get playful. Like he did the scene at the end of Tropic Thunder, or he played like the boss in that movie,
right?
And then he was dancing at the end, you know, twerking or popping or whatever the craze was at that point in time. And then he did Rock of Ages, which was kind of a different thing for him, and that movie bombed also.
Yes,
rightfully so. I watched it; it was awful.
I won't go near it.
And well, you know, I just thought '80s music, like, you know, that's cool. Wrong. The story was terrible. The acting was pretty bad, also. But he tried to get out of the box for what people saw him as, but then ultimately went back to the Mission Impossible type movies that he was, you know, I guess known for. And so I guess he allowed himself to be put in a box, and I can't tell if it's more like these are the roles that were being offered to him, or if, as Tom Cruise, he was handpicking these roles because he was living out his, you know, as a Scientologist, his L. Ron Hubbard fantasies.
Right.
You know, and it's, I don't know. I'm not sure which one it is, but it doesn't seem to be working out very well for him.
Well, because I think they're even making a fifth Mission Impossible.
Are they?
Yeah.
Huh. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
But Tom Cruise, you're on your way out. And the thing is, if we're totally honest, in Hollywood, everybody is a phase. Everybody has a moment. You know, the whole 15 minutes thing, it lasts longer than 15 minutes, but you really do only have a window.
Right.
And then people just seem to stop calling you. So Tom Cruise, it looks like his 15 minutes might be just about up. But I think he had a good run.
Yeah, definitely.
You know? Next on the list?
Russell Crowe.
Okay.
I wouldn't say he's in trouble, but I think he needs to be cautious. He might be heading down a bad road.
Did you see Noah?
I did not see Noah.
I have not, but I really want to. I really want to see it. I mean, it looked good to me, and I heard a lot of people giving it negative criticisms for not being, you know, true enough to the, you know, the Book of Genesis or whatever. But I thought it was sweet that they came out with such a movie, and I mean, the trailer looks great. So, you know, when it comes out on DVD or Blu-ray, I'll pick it up and give it a shot. Now, Russell Crowe's career has always been interesting because for a while he seemed like the kind of guy that was very picky about the parts he chose, kind of a DiCaprio.
Right.
You know, that's opposite of the Christopher Walken school where you take any role that's given you, or Samuel L. Jackson or whatever. So he did Gladiator, which was so good.
Oh yeah.
But at the same time, not something you watch like multiple times or you put on to be light.
Right.
Very serious. What else?
Well, because he won an Oscar for Gladiator, and then if I remember right, the very next year he won an Oscar for A Beautiful Mind.
Beautiful Mind,
which showed a completely different side of what he's capable of.
Yeah, and that was fantastic.
Oh, that was amazing.
Cinderella Man was another really good Russell Crowe movie. You ever watched that one?
I didn't see that one.
Oh, it was very good. He played a boxer during the Great Depression, and his family fell on hard times, and then it was just about him trying to make a comeback in the ring as an older boxer.
Yeah, I've heard wonderful things about it.
It was very good. But then, somewhere along the line, he started making movies that people cared less about. And it started, I think, with a movie called A Good Year, where his family purchased a vineyard, or he purchased a vineyard and kind of rebuilt his life or something. And no one seemed to make a lot of hoopla about it. And then from there on, it was like, he would jump into a Scorsese film or something like that. And the thing about Scorsese is, reputable a director as he is in Hollywood, he has a niche market because his films are often, violent and inhumane and grotesque, and they're kind of like, most women won't touch the Scorsese genre.
Right.
And so he put himself in a box there. And then he played Jor-El in the Superman movie. What was it, Man of Steel?
Man of Steel.
And now he's on to Noah. I'm sure I glazed over a few there.
He also did Robin Hood, which did not do very well.
Yeah. That's true.
I didn't see it, but I heard how it ended, and I thought, man, that's awful.
Yeah. And it's interesting that you say that, because I actually saw that at the theater. But had since forgotten about it.
Right.
So, yeah.
Which is not a good sign.
Not a good sign, yeah.
But I don't think he's in trouble, but I think it's been a while since he's been the lead in a movie that really did well.
Right. Did Noah not do well at the box office?
I think I would probably call it mediocre. It wasn't like a huge smash, and there was a lot of bad reviews of it.
Well, what came out at the same time? Because I feel like with a lot of these summer movies, you have to fit into the superhero genre, or the huge blockbuster like Transformers type movie, in order to really be successful. And it's like for these other movies that are trying something a little bit different, if you put them out on the same weekend or at the same time as these other big summer smashes, you're not going to do well.
No.
It seems like something you'd save for winter, like Christmas or something. It's what they always do with the Hobbit movies.
Right.
It seemed to work out for them. So next on the list, after Tom Cruise and Russell Crowe,
George Clooney.
Okay.
Now, I've never been a Clooney fan.
Me neither.
And I don't know. I mean, because the article says that unless you count his very small role in Gravity, it's been a while since, outside of the Ocean's movies.
Right.
That it's been a while since he's done anything really worthwhile. And I'll be honest with you, Ocean's 11 I thought was really good.
I did too.
Ocean's 12 was so bad, I won't watch the third one.
Yeah.
So I really don't even know if I want to count those as success for him.
Yeah. And I think that's more or less what he was, really known for. But here's the thing. People didn't go to see those movies because of George Clooney. It was the ensemble cast.
Right.
So he was just a link in a chain.
Right.
If those movies can be counted as successful. But Brad Pitt, he's got arguably a bigger following than Clooney.
I would think so.
So
it's just the Ocean's 12, the second one. When it's a major plot point that Julia Roberts' character looks like Julia Roberts, it's not going to win me over.
Right.
I just thought that was so stupid.
So I don't know what else can be really said about him.
Yeah, I've never been a fan, and if he goes away, I wouldn't miss him.
I wouldn't miss him either. Yeah, and ordinarily, Clooney makes more news for the person he's dating this week. You know what I mean? Than he does for any of the films that he actually makes.
Right.
So, next on the list then.
Colin Farrell. Now, I'll admit it's been a while since he's also, like we said with Russell Crowe, it's been a while since he's been the lead in a film that really did well, but I like Colin Farrell. I want to see good things happen for him.
Do you?
Yeah.
I can't stand Colin Farrell.
Really?
Cannot stand him. So, Phone Booth?
Uh-huh.
Is that the name of the movie?
Yeah.
With Kiefer Sutherland? That was good.
I loved it.
That was a great movie. But that is the only movie I think that I've ever watched him in that I loved. And lately, he's been doing terrible movies. What did he do? Alexander? Was that the name of the one?
Yeah, I think he was in that one.
Terrible. Miami Vice? Really? That was supposed to be a huge blockbuster success, and it was terrible. So, and then ironically, the picture that they show is that he did one with Russell Crowe, or that he will be doing one, Winter's Tale, and I've not even heard anything about that movie.
No.
I don't know if it's already come out or if it's something that's supposed to come out.
I think it already has.
Okay.
But yeah, I think that was kind of a love story he was in.
Okay. I can't tell you the last thing that I saw Colin Farrell in that I actually enjoyed. Oh, yeah, I can. There was a movie called Terrible Bosses.
Yeah.
You remember that?
Uh-huh.
And Colin Farrell he was one of the bosses that these guys were trying to kill.
Right.
That was a good movie, but not because of Colin Farrell.
Fair enough.
Yeah. It was because of Jennifer Aniston and the guys who actually were trying to plot.
Now, this one I wholeheartedly agree with, and I like this guy.
Okay.
Steve Carell. Okay.
Uh-huh.
Star of The Office, one of my all-time favorite shows, has done absolutely nothing worthwhile since he left the show.
Nothing at all? I'm trying to think.
Get Smart was okay in my mind. It wasn't like a great movie, but that Burt Wonderstone movie, just one of the worst bombs ever.
Okay.
And
was the 40-Year-Old Virgin before or
he
after?
was still on The Office then.
Okay, because I love that movie.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
What about Crazy Stupid Love? The one with Ryan Gosling, Emma Stone, Julianne Moore?
I never saw that one, but that one...
No, it was good.
It was good? Okay.
It was really... Yeah, I mean, and I'm not a rom-com guy, per se, but that was really good. And so he was in that. But yeah, I mean, Evan Almighty, no. What else has he been in?
He did Dinner for Schmucks with...
That wasn't that funny.
I haven't seen it, but everyone I know who hated it said, it's not worth seeing.
It's not.
Yeah, he did that Dan in Real Life, which is one of the most boring movies I've ever seen in my life.
Mm-hmm. Anchorman 2. But that's an ensemble kind of thing.
Yeah, that's...
And a sequel to something he was in while he was on The Office or before The Office.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So, yeah, I mean, I guess I could kind of see where it's winding down, but I guess I don't feel like his career is winding down to the degree that maybe a Tom Cruise is winding down or a Colin Farrell. But that might just be a matter of opinion.
Maybe it was just because I liked him so much on The Office that seeing some of these really awful things he's done, I don't know, maybe it just affects me more than it would you.
Maybe, yeah, because I wasn't an Office fan.
Right.
And so, yeah, so, I mean, I didn't hold him to that standard or whatever as far as being a fan goes. I think this one, and you joke that you wished David was around to talk about this one.
Yes.
But Adam Sandler.
Adam Sandler.
And I have to agree 100%.
Yeah. I mean, the only reason he's still able to make movies is his movies are cheap, relatively, so they don't have to do that well in the box office.
Well, now they're all kind of the same.
Yeah.
So you could probably, even from a budgetary standpoint, just take some of the deleted scenes from the prior movie, throw it into the new movie, and nobody would notice.
Yeah, I even heard him in an interview lately say his most recent film, Blended, where he goes to South Africa or whatever, that was really just a vacation for him.
Yeah.
And I liked him in Happy Gilmore. I like The Wedding Singer, but it's been a long, long time since he's done anything that
his
I even
early
wanted
films. Billy Madison was great.
Yeah.
And like you said, Happy Gilmore and The Wedding Singer were great. But even some of his later films where people stopped liking him as much, I really liked You Don't Mess with the Zohan.
See, I haven't seen it. I have no desire to see it.
I thought it was great. And Bedtime Stories as a family film was fun.
That wasn't bad.
I mean, I took my kid to see that, and we enjoyed that. And I liked Click. I thought Click was good. It was kind of a retelling of It's a Wonderful Life or something like that.
It was okay, but
then he went on to do things like Funny People, which was a Judd Apatow film, and it wasn't funny. I didn't think it was very good. But it was critically acclaimed. Jack and Jill.
Oh, God.
This is where the world began to go badly for Adam Sandler.
Mm-hmm.
Terrible movie, and I don't think that he'll be able to bounce back. 50 First Dates, that was another pretty good one.
Mm-hmm.
But man, yeah, Jack and Jill pretty much put the nail in the coffin, I think.
Mm-hmm.
And now Blended, nobody cares to see it. We've seen him and Drew Barrymore together 2 other times.
Yeah. Just go with it. Wasn't terrible. I mean, it.
Yeah, it wasn't his best. It wasn't his worst.
Right.
The Longest Yard was good.
I still prefer the original, though. Yeah.
So he's had a catalog, but I think his time in the sun's probably
I mean, they're movies that
coming to a close.
They're only going to make so much money, but I guess even with his most recent film, he had to even try to shop it to different film studios than he's normally working with, which is not a good sign.
I thought it was really odd that Jimmy Fallon had him and Drew Barrymore on his show, and Drew Barrymore was pregnant, so she's like doing promotional tours and stuff while she's pregnant.
Mm-hmm.
That's fine, I guess. But I mean, just to be candid, I guess not looking her best.
Mm-hmm.
And then Adam Sandler came out, and he had like sweatpants on and a T-shirt, and he had a black eye. And I just thought, like, why would you? And he was all scruffy, and he just looked like he just rolled out of bed and went on Fallon's show. And I was just thinking to myself, like, he's got to be ribbing somebody, because why would you do that? Like, as far as public image, like he just looked tired, he looked old, he looked played out, like he didn't care to be there. And, it just didn't make me want to go see his show at all.
Mm-hmm.
So,
the next one, Johnny Depp.
Okay.
And this one, I'm not really sure what to think of it.
Well, I think they're probably basing this on The Lone Ranger.
Probably so.
Because they spent so much money marketing that movie.
Yes, they did.
And hyping that movie, and it bombed.
Right.
And that was, he's had a weird career because he started out as somebody who did some indies.
Right.
They gained popularity, they gained traction. He made a couple cult classics like Edward Scissorhands. And then he really took off. His renaissance was the Pirates of the Caribbean franchise. And he did a great job with that. And from what I understand, aren't they making another one?
I think so.
Yeah, so, I mean, he's still got that to hang his hat on. And we'll see how another one goes, if it is as successful as the ones in the past. But it's like when he began to play Captain Jack Sparrow, all of a sudden, Johnny Depp's such a good actor. Like, I want to go see every movie that Johnny Depp's in.
Right.
And so he made a few good ones. The Secret Window was like kind of unique, and it was it was cool. But then he started to play like he did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory.
Yeah. See, I've never been a Johnny Depp fan, mostly because I've never been a Tim Burton fan.
Right.
And the two are
they
really
work together.
Yeah, the two are really associated. So, but I think with The Lone Ranger, Johnny Depp was the biggest name, but he wasn't the biggest role.
Right.
So I don't know that you can totally put that on him. But at the same time, Johnny Depp gets rumored for so many things. I think he's still in demand.
Yeah. I actually really loved, what was it, the musical, Sweeney Todd, that he did. And that was Tim Burton, too, but I actually really liked that. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, not so much.
Right.
But I've heard people, is he going to be Doctor Strange?
Yeah, he still gets rumored for all the big parts in Hollywood. I know when Chris Nolan was doing the Batman films, there's always talk he would be the Riddler if they ever brought him in. And
but the question is it just because he's such a good character actor?
That could be.
And they think of, like, who's going to play this character? Well, who's a good character actor? And so Johnny Depp seems to do a good job with that stuff. But I don't know. Like, I don't want to call him a one-trick pony, but he doesn't ever do anything where he's just Johnny Depp.
Right.
It's always something really over the top. And so I guess I would like to see a little bit more range from him. Because, he's done zany.
There's kind of a similarity to all his to a lot of his characters. Anyway.
Yeah, like even though he's playing characters that you would think have nothing in common, at the end of the day, you're all kind of like, well, yeah.
Because had he played the Riddler, you could see where there would be a lot of Captain Jack Sparrow in that.
Right. And especially if Tim Burton had anything to do with it.
Oh, God.
That's the other thing, too, is you work with a director you have a good relationship with, like that often.
Right.
And the look, because directors have their signatures. Spielberg uses a lot of spotlights. Michael Bay doesn't like to have stories in his films.
Right.
And so the look and the feel becomes the same. It's like even if you're not making the same movie, you're making something totally different. It's got the same vibe.
Right.
So, Johnny Depp, step your game up.
Yeah.
Maybe. That's what he needs to do.
I think that's fair advice.
Maybe do a drama.
The next one on the list is Will Smith.
The Fresh Prince.
Yeah. And again, I think with him, it's also been a while since he's been the lead in a movie that's...
Well, he had After Earth.
Yeah, which...
Him and his son did.
Uh-huh.
I didn't see it. Heard awful things about it.
Yeah. If I remember right, its opening weekend, that did the worst out of all his films. More people saw Wild Wild West than they After Earth, which is kind of frightening.
Yeah, and Wild Wild West
Yeah.
was terrible. And then, he did Men in Black 3, and that did okay.
Yeah.
But I think just because it was connected to the other two films that people enjoyed.
I think there's talk of another Bad Boys movie.
Okay. I don't know how that's going to go at this point.
Right.
They're both old or older, and the Bad Boys films were always kind of those guy films that you went and saw, but they were never, that was never anything iconic.
Right.
Maybe they need the Fresh Prince of Bel-Air, the movie, or something like that.
They are making Independence Day 2, but
he's not going to be in it.
He's not going to be in it, but
right.
I would question that decision. But
yeah, if I were him, I would have jumped on that.
Yeah.
And based on our conversation last week, I would have given them a stipulation that Jeff Goldblum also has to be in it.
Yes.
Yeah. So you pay him whatever he wants. But yeah, Will Smith, I don't know, man. Like, he seems to have taken a mentor role over his kids where he's more interested in helping them to kind of balance being normal kids but also starting a career in show business.
Right.
His focus seems more on his family than it does on acting. I can't fault him for that.
Right.
But I also understand why his career's not red hot anymore.
Right.
And with him too, like he was always selective over his films, and he had some that were. He started out where every film that he had was the kind of fun film that you could watch over and over again.
Right.
But then he went to when he did I Am Legend, it was kind of like, well, that was cool, but I can't watch that over and over again because it's kind of depressing in a way. And then the same thing goes with The Pursuit of Happiness. Very dramatic, and it was good, and it was heartwarming, but I'll never watch it again.
Yeah.
And then he had that one where he was the strange man who gave away his organs and stuff.
7 pounds.
7 pounds.
I never saw that one because I just remember the advertising campaign was so vague.
It was very vague, and he wouldn't even tell anybody it was about in interviews. So that was interesting, and it was definitely dramatic, and it was good. But I don't know. I've seen it the one time and would never go back and watch it again.
Yeah, but I like Will Smith. I want to see him have huge success.
Yeah,
but,
I still love Hitch.
I really liked Hitch.
I still watch Hitch on occasion when it comes on TV. So at least he got that. Yeah, I'm with you. I like Will Smith. I want to see him succeed. Not that he hasn't already succeeded.
Right.
So I guess if his run's coming down to an end, it is what it is.
Another one, Vince Vaughn. Vince Vaughn has a lot of Adam Sandler in him, I think. The movies are going to be fairly cheap to make, so there's only going to be so much money that they can draw in. Again, a lot of it seems to be the same kind of character, but I think his movies have been fairly decent, the ones I've seen.
Love Dodgeball.
Oh, Dodgeball's great.
Yeah. He was Wes Mantooth in the Anchorman movies.
Yeah.
That was hilarious, even though it was a small part. Old School was great.
Yeah.
I haven't seen his new one, The Internship, with Owen Wilson, but I want to.
I haven't seen that one.
I would like to.
Wedding Crashers was...
Wedding Crashers, yeah, it was great. I think it was around the time that he started showing support for Ron Paul and claiming that he was a libertarian that Hollywood decided to blackball him.
Oh, is that it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm just going to go ahead and call that out there because I saw that.
Is that why our show's not bigger?
Maybe. Anybody associated with anything libertarian has got to go. But yeah, it's interesting because it did seem like people saw him in a different light. All of a sudden, he was not just this comedian. Oh, he had and maybe it's not just the libertarian thing. Maybe it's because like Matt Damon, his movies haven't been as successful, but he's been more politically outspoken.
Right.
George Clooney, the same way.
Right.
So maybe people just like you less when you start talking about politics.
That could be.
And so then your film career goes away. So, I don't know. For better or worse, that might be true.
I actually got my hands on a DVD. It was Vince Vaughn's Wild West comedy show.
Yeah?
Where he took some comedians on the road and they did like 30 shows in 30 days or something like that. And it was comedians you really hadn't heard of. It was actually really good stuff. And one of the comedians that he brought on this tour was actually still working as a waiter. That's how up and coming these guys were. And there's something about Vince Vaughn that I think is really likable.
Yeah, I agree. And then finally,
a guy you just mentioned.
I just mentioned him. Yeah,
Matt Damon.
Matt Damon, or as in Team America World Police. Have you seen that?
It's been a while, but
Matt Damon. But here's the thing, man. He just did Elysium. Did you know that Eminem was actually selected for that part before Matt Damon?
Really?
Yeah.
Wow.
And he turned it down. And so now Matt Damon took the part, and he was essentially sloppy seconds to Eminem.
Oh, wow.
You know something went wrong in your career when you're just taking the part that Eminem turned down. Like, that's wild to me. And everything he's been in since the Bourne Identity franchise, I haven't really cared about. Can't think of anything that I've really been into.
Yeah, again, he was in the Ocean's movies, but that was an ensemble cast. The Departed was really good, but again, another ensemble cast.
And a Scorsese film at the same time.
Yeah, so there.
About those.
Yeah, he's had some questionable movies lately, but I think if he has a one-hit movie again, he'll bounce right back.
Yeah, I mean, I always go back to like Good Will Hunting. That's my favorite Matt Damon movie. And he's been in a few good films. I like him when he does Kevin Smith comedies, when he has minor roles in those.
Right.
So I think I like Matt Damon funny more than I like Matt Damon serious, and he always tends to gravitate toward the dramas.
Right.
So, yeah, sorry, Damon. But another one that talks politics, though.
Yeah.
It seems to kind of go away. Like him on Jimmy Kimmel's show, too, when he does his brief cameos on there.
But again, he's showing his humor there. And he's actually really talented.
He is. Yeah, very much so. Yeah, that's the last guy. Surprisingly. Is there anyone that you would have added to that list?
One guy that I worry about is Jim Carrey, because...
Okay, I can see that.
Although I posted on Facebook this week, if my Facebook feed means anything, the Dumb and Dumber sequel that comes out later this year is going to be the highest grossing film ever. Because when that came out, I think about everybody I know commented on it.
A lot of people are talking about that. I would actually add Leonardo DiCaprio.
I could see that.
He tends to pick weird films. And even though they're, supposedly big blockbusters or they're pushed at the box office, they don't have a lot of mass appeal.
Right.
So The Wolf on Wall Street, I watched it. It was too long, first of all. It was like 3.5 hours long or something crazy. It just went on forever. And it was all grotesque, like profanity, people doing drugs, nudity. It was all vice. The Great Gatsby that he did recently, I watched that, and that was again, it was just long, dramatic, not really engaging at all. And even movies that I've liked in the past that he's done, like The Aviator, just because I thought Howard Hughes was like an interesting person.
Right.
It still didn't have a lot of you're not taking your family to see that,
right?
But when you're going on a date, you're also not going to go see it, and so you're like, it's just something you're going to watch on your own, probably without the wife,
right?
And you don't sell movie tickets that way,
right?
So yeah, DiCaprio would make the list.
I think that's fair.
Coming down to the end of the hour. Is there anyone that you would like to tip the cap to this week?
I want to tip my cap to Harrison Ford. He broke his ankle this week filming Episode 7 of Star Wars, which I think is at least a good sign that he's actually involved in the movie.
Sure.
You know.
Sure. Speaking of Star Wars, one of the villains in the movie is a guy named Adam Driver.
Uh-huh.
And Adam Driver is actually from Mishawaka.
Yes.
So I'm tipping the cap to him just because I think it's cool, man, that a person can, from the hometown,
absolutely,
can make a name for themselves the way he has done. So tipping the cap to Adam Driver, and then to Harrison Ford also this week. And anything else to note before we conclude?
We do have a Facebook page now, so our listeners can like us on Facebook.
Yeah.
Facebook.com/tipthecap.
Yes, and you can also still find us on Twitter at Cap Podcast, so follow us on there. Give us feedback about the shows. Let us know if there's anything special that you would like us to talk about, or anybody that you would, you just want to bust out on the show. Maybe we'll throw you a shout out. And other than that, we tip the cap to you as always, and this concludes episode 14 of the Culture and Arts Podcast. We'll see you next week.